Martens, and I'm going to show you the drop shot, one of my favorite ways of fishing knot. This is a heavy cover Gamakatsu. I think it's the best drop shot for Texas rig hook out there by far. Been using this for a while, since I came out with it. Phenomenal hook. This is the Finesse series, heavy cover. 10-pound FC sniper. This would be a great rig for Kentucky, or just using examples like Guntersville. And I've had a lot of people ask me, how do you tie a uni with a drop shot? They can't do it. Well, if you do a single, I'm going to show you real quick why you can't. Got some waves. If you do a single, you can't do it with the long enough leader, because what you're going to have is like 1.5 feet of leader, and you have to try to run up your line 6 or 7 times. So what I do is I do a uni doubled, which I do just about everything anyways, because it seems to be a little stronger. So I'm going to leave the leader length about so, and take your line and pinch it. Run it through. It doesn't matter which side. Usually I run it through this way with the hook pointing towards my right hand. Run it through the eye. Sorry. Slide that down. So we got the line through there like that. You guys see that, right? Really, actually a pretty easy knot to tie. The only tricky part is when you do this, I pull that loop up. I take my pinky finger, and what that finger's called, I never remember. And what I'm going to do is make sure it's nice and snug, like there's no, like one line's not longer. It's pretty easy. It's done unconsciously when you learn how to do it. And I take about where the eye of the hook is, where I grab it. And now what I'm going to do, this is the tricky part, it's the part you might have to learn. I'm going to flip it. So what I do normally, if I'm not trying to show you, is I'm going to flip it, invert it basically. So now I'm got the loop facing down. What this allows you to do is wrap up inside of itself, like so. So you see how I did that? It can be a little tricky, but all I'm doing is I'm wrapping upwards and making it loop. And the best way to do this is, I learned off a hook diagram, like a knot diagram, but it may have been actually easier to watch somebody do it, but I didn't really watch anybody do it. So I'm doing that, holding this up here so it's keeping it separated. Now I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that loop, and always another tricky part about any kind of knot or slip knot is snugging the knot tight. They're all a little different. Some of them you have to pull a loop a little bit, some of them you have to pull a tag in the main line a little bit, some of them it's easier to pull the hook. This one usually I pull the loop first to kind of snug that knot down a little bit, and it always helps to get a little wet. And so what I did with it, I pulled the loop, and the loop snugged the knot up. I'm just going to get control of it here. And once you snug that knot up, you can start to slide down like so. And then once I get close to the eye of the hook, I actually pull all the tag in the knot, tag in and the main line, and the tag in. Well, I'm sorry, the tag in and the loop. And what I do is I snug it down. As I snug it down, I let my hands slide up the line until the loop is out of my hands, and then I let the knot slide down. And when you learn how to do this, it's actually really fast. But that is a seriously strong knot. Or if you want to be correct, it's actually called a slip or a cinch. I'm going to cut my tag end off. And leader length varies, of course. I always tell people, the spring is usually the shortest to the fall is usually the longest leaders. And a really important thing that a lot of us didn't learn, like in the or I guess the middle 90s, late 90s, when I finally figured it out. I think the Japanese knew about it before they wouldn't tell us, and then didn't tell us. They didn't tell me, at least. I kind of figured it out after a while. If you don't run this line back through the eye, the hook's gonna go anywhere it wants. So it could be sideways, and I've got a lot of questions about that. So still to this day, you want to take your tag in and run it through the eye of the hook, like so, and that will keep your hook always straight with the line. And another thing I do, if I'm vertical fishing, I actually like to kind of correct it depends how I'm fishing, but if I'm fishing a lot of times straight up and down, especially with heavier line, I actually kind of put the knot where I want the worm to sit a certain way. So, I mean, if you put it like that and drop it down, that weight's hanging down, a lot of times that worm's going to kind of tail down a lot. So a lot of times I go like a 45 or even a 90, and that allows the hook, so when that weight is on the bottom, the worm is going to be more horizontal. But that's pretty simple. That's a pretty simple rig, drop shot. Another thing I do is I tie an overhand at the bottom, because a lot of the weights we have these days have a clip on them. So what that does, all that does is make it easier to slide on. If you're worried about losing them because they are expensive, you can actually tie that on. So you can actually run the line through and then tie like a little overhand on it. and that will actually keep it, because sometimes these clips will let go of your weight, and I get some of them at the same time. I don't really worry about it. Just I think tungsten is really important to use for drop shotting, but that is pretty basic drop shot rig.